Welcome back to the most professional StarCraft 2 with the rank 1 Protoss player in the world in the red. It's herO. Facing off against one of the best Zergs in Korea in the blue, we have SHIN in a best of 3 Protoss versus Zerg tournament. And before we get started, it'd be incredible if you could smash that like button, maybe even subscribe. And we got the algorithm. And Jimmy, what are we at? 1,891 likes on this video, on this cast, and I'll cast another one. And I'll probably do it anyways, because I don't know what else I do with my life. But thank you for watching. Hopefully you've had a good day so far. And hopefully it's about to get just a little bit better than the very first probe, which clearly got away with stealing 5 minerals, clearly got away with delaying the economy, blocking the natchery, and so far is getting away with its life, gliding away on a basic aura of smug pretentiousness, which I assume all Protoss have. Because what are they going to say otherwise? But the first probe headed back home. herO made a Stalker first to make that Overlord uncomfortable. Almost as uncomfortable as me when I remind you, your posture is not as good as it could be. Take it from the expert, all right? Sit up a little bit. Or don't. You know, whatever's easiest to like and subscribe. I apologize. Jimmy, edit that out. That's just mean. Oracle on the way. No, I'm serious. As herO started off by just making things uncomfortable, as mentioned, and will continue to do so, as that is his mission objective, and I believe his life goal when it comes to StarCraft 2. Of course, we're on the live patch, not the patches patch, though. We're going to see some more of that soon, and if you haven't yet seen it, well, it'd be awesome if you check it out. Maybe afterwards. Overlord goes down into the unit's loss tab, and in several Overlord shaped pieces, well, partial pieces, but another gate on the way behind this. That is one of the ways you can potentially block the general area. It's an art form, okay? It takes effort to be this bad at walling off efficiently. He built the second pylon as part of the wall, and then he built a second gate in the main. So, he didn't avoid building a second gate. He just, you know, I'm not here to question it. Double stasis simultaneously. The queens will try to delay, and the knitting needles knock one of the oracles out of the sky. Revenge for the Overlord. Brenda? Get off my creep. Okay. Yeah, okay. Time kind of passed. The Oracle, a second stasis. Well, we've had first stasis, and now we try second, and it's about just as effective. Gets 1 or 2 drones and delays the rest. Wait, yet another Oracle? Even more oracles? What a deplorable opener from herO. He's building yet another. This will actually be 4 oracles in total. Don't be Soracle. I'm not being rhetorical, but... and a whole bunch of adepts, because of course it is. The Shady Bunch is on the way across a stasis to delay a potential 4th base, but unfortunately, they were all of them deceived. For another 4th, what is that? Fleet Beacon is on the way, as herO is just swinging around the tech tree like a proverbial Tarzan right now, and the adepts will cancel the Shade, working on the 4th hatch, as he suspected it was already on the way. And so far, SHIN just trying to keep up with whatever herO's thrown at him, and has done a capable job thus far. The 4th hatchery lights up the Oracle to help with the damage. And what? No cancel. As he's microing Zerglings on the other side. The Oracle's just absolutely everywhere all of the time, and SHIN does not cancel the hatch. He gets away with the Zerglings, but a pretty medium to large size mistake. Losing those extra minerals, and yeah, sure, of course, a mothership is on the way. As, why wouldn't it be? Here at the 7-minute mark, the 4 oracles holding their ground. The wall off here is the oracles darting across, and herO is going for the rest of the tech shrubbery. He lights up the oracles, and the queens. Transfuses will save the day. as the Queen's Moot comes together. But the Oracles did not shut off those pulsar beams. Now they're going to shut down the 4th hatch. SHIN just does not cancel hatcheries. All right, he doesn't believe in that. He's pro-life, which is not good in StarCraft 2, if you know your history. And generally, it only gets worse the more you... Jimmy, definitely edit that one out. He who shall not be named. A little late, though. Hatchery taken out. And, well... Overseer. Wait, okay. Alright, we gotta refocus here. Because herO's build is, like, Tourette's improvisation. He's got Oracles, Adepts, Mothership, a Singular Tempest. He's going for Blink. A few Adepts make it into the... SHIN is just gonna hedge his bets with Hydra Laying, and I think not a bad choice overall. herO does not have a 4th Nexus. And... well, where are we now? A question I ask often. Sometimes just in real time, as herO once again leads us on a meandering path up the tech tree. He's building out of the gates, as he doesn't want to pay the warp tax, and he wants to build up the unit count as quick as possible. Units build 50% faster out of gateways now once you research warp gate. But once you turn them into warp gates for the low price of $25.25, and you're like, wasn't it free before? Well, now you get the pride and accomplishment of paying $25.25 to unlock a warp gate. So, which really feels more meaningful, that sort of friction between you and having a basic mechanic that you've had for 16 years. So, Enshinification, I think they're calling it. Speaking of Hydras, Lings, Banes. No Baneling speed, no Hydra speed, but enough creep. herO does not have Storm because he doesn't have a Templar Archives, but he does have a Mothership. So, and there's also an Tempest. No, he has 2 Tempests. You can tell by the way it is. Isn't that neat? Well, throws it out. Stasis mid-fight. It's gonna catch a huge chunk of the Zerglings. The Stasis force field even better than the actual ones. And herO just blocks out the entire army. And, well, he's just, now it's awkward. Like, if you get too many units in Stasis, it becomes a liability for you. herO's nearly maxed out. He's got 7 gates, just basic gateways. All natural. No Templar of any flavor. SHIN is... he has a hive done, though no hive tech on the way. We all know how allergic he is to adrenal glands. And... well, the Zerglings will dart by. Banelings rolling through the leaky force fields. Hydra's taking out most of the sentries. The Zergling counter. He has +2 melee attack. Those Zerglings quite dangerous. Recharges an Oracle. The Zealot could have been in the wall. Chose not to be. Zerglings get into the main. Of course they do. Should be cleaned up rather easily. There's stasis wards all over the place. Left behind like bottles after too long of a night. Or too early, really. Templar Archives is remembered by a probe who immediately gets killed. And that knowledge was clearly lost with him. He doesn't build a Templar Archives because he thinks he built what most of the armies in the main. He did not restart a Templar Archive, so he may not have noticed that that was the pro... there it is. All right. Eventually got there. Redirected. Stalkers blink in. Stalkers recall out. You can't well, okay. Now, how many Stalkers does it take to just... 16 probes dead to Banelings. We've got an Ultranus Cavern on the way. Templar Archives is not quite done. herO at 70 probes, which is still a pretty healthy number. And his supply is still incredibly high. Between the gateway production and the fact he's mostly investing in gateway units themselves, as opposed to things like Templar, or Immortals, or Tempest, or anything to stop the Zerglings from getting into the main base. Well, but he does have a better wall in the main to choke off the Zerglings than he does at the natural. Shin, adrenal glands on the way. 40% attack speed on the unit you build literally hundreds, sometimes thousands of. Wild idea. Crazy. Glad to see it. Meanwhile, herO loses not one, but 2 oracles. But wait, there's more. 2 more. He knew it was likely they weren't going to survive many of these engagements, as
our forces are under attack. Evolution complete. So old school.
I did mean to go to the herO cam, but yeah, it's Shin. Meanwhile, herO, some zealots right into the Hydras. The Overseer count is surprising. Well, if you're caught without detection against the mothership, that's how you lose the game. You just lose the game. Oh. The Changelings finally taken out. Jimmy, turn off the sellout stuff, all right? We're not streaming. We tell people to like and subscribe, but we just hope they do. There's no instant gratification besides hours of content every single week that hopefully people are content with. Like, oh, Winter, why are the titles so similar? You mean these players are playing the same strategies? Anyways, and also edit out that meta discussion. It's not worth. We're in the middle. This game is actually pretty great. I know it's a mess. Sorry. A whole bunch of Templar. Storm is done. Some Archons mixed in. +2 on the ground, +1 in the air. Meanwhile, Ultras with Chitinous Plating, +3 melee attack is done for Shin, and +2 Carapace. Force fields, I mean, a massive unit like the Ultralisk is just going to go barreling right through them, but Guardian Shield is incredibly helpful. The Time Warp, though, is strong enough to affect those same units and even things as large as your mother. So, 2 Oracles and 2 Immortals in production, which is certainly, yeah, all of that pretty good. Just odd to see more. Well, I guess he's now lost 4 so far this game. The Stalkers, the recall a little bit late, but much better late than never. It was a recall with the Nexus, not with the mothership. So he still has that available, but Fungal comes out, the Templar. Not all heroes wear capes, but heroes is due as active cloaking, but there's just, he targets down, but 16 more Overseers, give or take, come in, and he just cleaves through the Templar as Ultras will weather the storms and eviscerate the Templar on the field, as Shin was not fucking around with detection here, but instead was made sure that he could see anything under that cloaking device. All right, Shin taking it very seriously, but unfortunately, without Corruptors, the Hydras will eventually be picked apart by the Tempest. The Tempest, well, on the bright side for Shin, he had 11 Corruptors in production, so he's going to be able to follow that up pretty well. On the downside, no, it went well. Like, usually there's a kind of a caveat there, but a fight where Zerg destroys more gas and a similar amount of minerals in the late game is a decisive, overwhelming, laudable victory. You should be singing songs and writing epic poems about that one. But this Odyssey ain't over yet. And Shin predicting that he would need not 1, not 2, but about 17 Overseers in order to make sure he had the detection. And it definitely pays off, because herO went through the effort of sniping off that Overseer, which isn't... That's what he was relying on. But instead, well, another ship in production, the Mass Tempest. Microbial Shroud on the Ultralisk. It does nothing against the Storm, but plenty against everything else. The Tempests are driven back. The Ultras are chewing through. The mothership is building on this Nexus, but it may never be delivered. And retreating all the way back to yet another vanguard of cannons. As Shin, well, the Tempest still shelling. He may actually kill all the Corruptors. But we have to ask ourselves that question. Well, 10 drones dead as Zealots found their way into... Actually, herO has gateway units in pretty much everything but the center base. He's gonna kill one hatchery. He's taken out 16 drones. SHIN actually doesn't have the economy here at all. He's completely broke. He's down to 66 drones. herO has successfully expanded to the top right corner, and herO has a better unit composition if he's able to put it together. But so far, SHIN is looking to make sure he breaks it apart, as he still has the army supply 100 to 74. Is there enough anti-air to deal with the Tempest? No. And most of his corruptors are hanging out down the center. So herO has lost the momentum, but he certainly... Was that Ultra? That Ultra was walled in by spine crawlers. It wasn't there to defend against the Zealots. It was stuck there. But eventually will be freed. Overlords being taken out. The pylons left behind. The remnants of the base. Builds another one in the top right corner. Well, so overall, herO clearly in a less than ideal position, but certainly not untenable. He's got Templar with Storm. He's got Mothership on the way. He did not cancel his base, as apparently we don't do that around here, or around any base on this map for either side. Another recall. Deja vu. We've just been in this place before. Another recall to the closest nexus, which is how it works. +3 flyer attack for SHIN, which is a rare Pokemon indeed. Especially in a game like this with such low economies. But the prioritization on the Corruptors may very well pay off, as a significant portion of herO's army is invested in those Tempests. Mostly because they survived the ground army, as SHIN ran out of anti-air before he ran out of anti-ground. But SHIN is maxed out, whereas herO he's not too far off, but he's now pinned on one base. That is the Anvil. And SHIN has quite a hammer. And will herO be caught between, or will he ooze out like a blubber sort of creature and somehow slip away and recoalesce somewhere else on the map? Which is what he's attempting to do bravely, but one Zealot has a lot to chop through. The Ultralisk, a bit much to ask. 8 Ultralisks on the other side, even more to ask. herO just gives up on that base. There's almost no resources left, literally 300 gas and no minerals. Some Ultras over to the right side. SHIN now banking a bit. 4 Dropper Lords on the way. This hatchery was never rebuilt over to the 3 o'clock. At least not the most recent time it was taken out. The Dropper Lords are somewhere. I hear them being loaded up. Jamming the Zerglings in. Maybe an Ultra? Which Overlord is the Ultralisk in? Important question. Banelings? Roll in. 5 probes dead. 8 Brood Lords on the way. And the Lords of the Brood... In a low economy situation? Well, he runs the risk of running out of anti-air. There are still 6 Tempests. So, I'm not entirely sure how he means to deal with them. Maybe not at all. But the Dropper Lords are coming out, and here comes SHIN running in. As the main base is now under fire. Another Oracle is on the way. The Mothership over to the right side. SHIN down the center. SHIN to the right and SHIN in the main. The Fleet Beacon is under attack. The Nexus and the most important mining base as well. herO scrambling back to defend against the drops, but it's just Zerglings and a single Ultra. Nexus goes down. He saves another one just barely. You can't bungle the Nexus. And that means he has no detection there for now. I don't know where the Overseers went, but they're not here right now. herO will hold, but at what cost? He must go across the map. He's running out of real estate. The cloaking device will wear off. There's almost... Oh, he grabs the Oracle and then holds it in place for the Queens. which will take it down. 9 more Corruptors on the way. And herO, he's trying to force a fight. What? Did he kill his own zealot, or was it a changeling? I think he... Well, sometimes it's hard. He's seeing things. But here comes herO. He could threaten the main base with a recall to the mothership. There's only 6 Corruptors. He has yet to reveal the Broodlords. The drop is coming in again. herO in dire straits. SHIN looking radiant at the moment. There's money in the bank. Enough Zerglings in the main, that might very well force the issue. A recall! Oh. Splitting the army up. And just gonna target fire the Nexus again. Does he have another cloak? The cloak! Again! Oh! What a save! Saves the base! And SHIN will lose like 3-4 ultras for this. That is how you throw this game. By losing half a dozen ultras to try to right-click on a Nexus, which does not cost Vespene gas, I might add. But, oh wow, that might be a GG of Broodlords. There's 6 Tempests. There are 0 fleet beacons remaining. I don't know if he's even seen a single one of these, which is going to be a very rude surprise. And there's Infestors underneath. He does have Neural Parasite, as was already revealed, but herO has to know it's a possibility. But herO's dragged himself back towards 200 army. Well, 200 supply. And pretty close to 200 army supply. Only 53 probes. Chiropractor's Office of Spines in the bottom left corner will completely wall off the base with him. The Broodlords. The anti-air is still very limited. 8 Corruptors and 3 Infestors, or 3 Queens, rather. But the Microbial Shroud, you gotta be careful with the Microbial Shroud. It helps against the Broodlords, actually. But the Mothership, the Corruptors, and the army's just gone. There's no answer to the Broods. There's no ability to rebuild the Tempests. And the Mothership finally knocked out of the sky. And 6 Stalkers versus 13 Broodlords is not a winning fight. Well, not if you're Protoss. But herO is herO, so we will fight to the bitter end. I do very much believe this is the end, though. With 12 Spine Crawlers and 12 Broodlords. 13 Broodlords. The Zergling streaming past. A bunch of the tech tree rebuilt. The Nexus still at only half shields and almost no HP. He's still gonna recall. What? An Oracle and an Immortal, sure. Alright, herO. He chases down. Actually gonna get one of the Broods. herO will never surrender! There's Hydras. Alright, he still has Hydras. 20 probes dead. Alright, that's it. herO, 54 supply. But he's gonna take out one more. Oh, no, he's not. Alright, that's enough. GG! SHIN eventually overruns him as herO's scattered build, unable to focus in time in order to break its way through. And game number 1 goes to SHIN. herO, for a few excuse me. Introducing our Protoss player in the blue. Up 1 game. We have SHIN. And our Zerg player in the bottom right. It's herO. Okay, so I know herO recently, I didn't think, well, this was before he made this post, but herO has said officially that he may consider playing Zerg against Zerg. Because he is not happy with the state of Protoss versus Zerg strategically. Whereas Protoss versus Terran he feels is less ridiculous. But it appears SHIN has taken him up on this challenge, as herO picks Zerg and SHIN picks Protoss. And I have to assume there was an agreement because you see it in the lobby screen. Maybe some questioning on either side. I don't know how often these two are bantering. But I have to imagine with the same, it's pretty much the same, like 8 Korean pro players playing each other at all hours of the day, several days a week. So I have to imagine, at least semi-friendly terms. So SHIN has chosen to play Protoss, and I can only assume herO was very willing to play Zerg versus Zerg. And now will be met with, well, can he put his prize money where his mouth is? Or, well, it is now. He's playing Zerg. And I have no idea. Now, most pro players at this stage, if you're a pro in one race, you're at least high grandmasters as the other. The skills carry over. But we have never, in the history of StarCraft 2, seen a single player on more than like a single one-off game occasion off race as Zerg. All right, almost every single biracial player in StarCraft 2 has done so as Protoss. And I'll let you speculate on the reasons. We've occasionally had a couple Terrans, but Zerg is, of the skills that transfer over. Oh, this is gonna hurt my brain casting this one, but we'll just say Zerg or Protoss, and then you can fill in the rest. But SHIN doing a great job of that probe harass, almost killing a drone. But overstaying his welcome will be taken out by the Zerglings. herO's had enough. And SHIN is willing to give him a shot. I gotta say, that is... I feel like SHIN, who has beaten SherO, not necessarily beats SherO on a regular basis, but... If SHIN played ZVZ, I'm pretty sure he would completely dunk on herO, even if herO's been practicing Zerg. So... kind of him. herO's Overlord. He may not... He is going to lose it to the Stalker. Overlord should have known what it was getting into, but SHIN does not wall off. Clearly inspired by his opponent. He knew those Zerglings were coming in, but... Well, Void Ray on the way. I can't help but feel both of them are just going to do their best to steal their opponent's build. herO has been... Last game, we didn't see it. But we've seen a lot of mass Void Ray strategies. And Void Ray openers in general. As testing out the newest sort of builds on the newest patch. Which apparently herO has concluded that the best build for Protoss against Zerg is to play Zerg. We'll see what SHIN comes up with. What does he build next, is the real question. A Nexus, which is about as close to Nex as you can get, to be fair. Well, I really more meant what's out of the Stargate, but anyways. Another Void Ray. Oh, that's a herO build right there. Supply blocked Void Ray being chrono boosted. The mass Void Ray strategy. Overlord. Another one burnt out. herO. Pretty hard supply block. 3 more Overlords on the way. Another one targeted the Queens. Just enough. A second Stargate. SHIN definitely going mass Void Ray. Well, it could be a fleet beacon, but stealing herO's build. herO stealing every Zerg's dream. 13 drones on the way. As SHIN did not go... So you almost always, nearly without fail, even when herO does it, he's missing the Oracle. All right, the Oracle. Did we lose another one, Brenda? Yes, another. I'm starting to feel whoever's controlling these overlords doesn't know what they're doing. Who are you talking to? I'm not gonna name names, Susan. herO, I don't. Are you sick? Sick of this bullshit? Sorry, I am. So you almost always build an Oracle because one, for scouting, and two, to at least threaten and force them to reconsider building so many drones. But the Adepts into the third base herO already has the Zerglings and Queens there to defend and just rips them to shreds, I say. Hydra's on the way. 2 Void Rays at a time. I would say this is SHIN trolling, but we have seen herO do almost this exact build. But, with somewhat better execution, to be fair. As so far, SHIN has done little to no economic damage, and herO has been allowed to get almost all the way up to a 4th base, but the Void Rays will light up and might be able to burn out this hatch. And we'll commit, but cancel at the last moment. herO not nearly as much of a believer in it. A fleet beacon is on the way, as SHIN will oblige. herO delayed on his 4th hatch. Weird sentence. I believe there's a Brood War player named herO who plays Zerg, which might be less weird for those who are so inclined, but... Anyways, how's the back pain, Grandpa? 19. The Queens wandering off into the sunset, as they do if you aren't careful about it. The mothership on the way. Only about a minute later than herO's last game, and it wasn't like SHIN was rushing up towards it. Infestors and Hydras are the choice for herO. Mass Void Ray, 2 different packs of Void Rays. Trying to, Flux Veins. For Void Ray speed, lights up another set, does a lot of damage, and then gives up. We're threatening the main base. Also, the Infestors are out. A single fungal could be devastating, or it could just be sad, as the Infestor just dies. The cannon's in place. SHIN with a great setup, but over to the left side. Infestor a little bit late. And SHIN's Void Ray is doing looks like he's gonna get the hatch. The Hydra's coming up. But SHIN loses 1 Void Ray, but the other 2 are able to escape. Okay, that's not gonna happen. The fungal thrown out! Not today. herO. That Infestor control, good enough. Catches a couple more. Meanwhile, in the main base, actually lighting up the extractors. The mothership is done, just in time. And herO has no detection. And now it's time for a taste, now that you can have one of your own medicine. And the mothership recalls back the Void Rays. He has active cloaking. Now, fungal gives you detection. Microbial Shroud, but nope. Has to turn all the way around. Thankfully for herO, he wasn't too committed to the fight, so he won't be losing too many Hydras. But the active cloaking certainly slows down the attack. Where are the Overseers? He built a couple, but they're on the other side of the map. Active cloaking eventually does run out. That's the active part. And does SHIN actually have enough to defend? The mothership doing a lot of damage. The Hydra's diving forward. Microbial Shroud is not available. The positioning, Groom Spines is done, but Hydras cannot fly. A major weakness as the mothership is racking up the kills. Fungal comes out, but the Infestors are first targeted. And herO struggling to break through. He does have 70 drones, 15 more on the way. As realizing that even though he can't break through, there's very little chance of SHIN coming across the map with 1 Void Ray, 5 Tempest, a mothership, and a chip on his shoulder. So, herO exploding his economy. The hive is about to complete. He has +1 ranged attack, working on +2, so clearly not overwhelming upgrades. But the supply and the economy look great for him so far. 2 carriers on the way. 3 carriers! Wait, no. One of those is a Tempest. I'm blind. Of course. Shout out to my blind viewers. Of course. Always have to. But 3 Vipers and 2... Okay, herO. So, there is one person in the world who on a regular basis controls Vipers and Infestors without one of them dying horribly or completely mistiming it. And his name is herO. And he doesn't play Zerg. He plays as herO. But herO is about to show us how a true pro tosses the game with Zerg. Hopefully into his advantage. He's doing everything I think you should do. Okay, let me restart. Give me edit that out. Let me restart that sentence. It appears herO is more than willing to give us a demonstration of how you're supposed to play against this mass Sky Toss composition. Very notably so far, herO does not have a Spire whatsoever. He's got Hydras, he's got Queens, he's got Infestors, he's got Vipers. Also very notably, SHIN does not have any Templar. So, no Storm. Oh, wait. Okay, now notably, SHIN does have Templar. But still no Storm. He has not researched Storm, but he's adding in Archons. So, without Storm, Mass Hydra becomes significantly more potent. As it's really the Storms that keep the critical mass of Hydras from coagulating into a deadly amount of units, but even more... Is that a second infestation pit? I think he meant Ultralisk Cavern. He might not know the hotkeys. The double infestation pit plays. That's so he can research Neural Parasite and nothing else at the same time. A decoy infestation pit. Meanwhile, SHIN with the charge slots. Working through a hatchery over to the right flank. herO with a dozen spore crawlers. SHIN with dozens of cannons. No Hydra lunge. 9 spine crawlers on the way. The Sporist has come together with the spine crawlers interspersed. A Spire and 2 Robos in the production tab simultaneously as both players fill in the dimension they are least well covered. But here comes herO. Infestor Viper. Wombo combo potential. Fungal and Parasitic Bomb is the combination. That is how you kill a Sky Toss army. Now the major weak... Double Ultralisk Cavern. Sure. Why not? I am reasonably sure that second infestation was supposed to be an Ultra Cavern. But making sure he gets both Ultra upgrades simultaneously is actually kind of worth it. Especially if you have the money. herO. Just a whole bunch of... Now, this is a lot of Hydras committed here. You can't recall Hydras, which is a major weakness. He's stutter stepping, such as it is. Oh, he does have the... He just finished lunge. He's caught between a rock and a hard place, though. And it's not like he's so rich that... Yeah, well... The Hydra lunge is... well, it's not going great. He loses every Hydra. He's now building 8 Ultralisks. Which... He totally was freeing up supply. Now is losing 27 Hydralisks. Hey, good. Don't worry about it. Storm is on the way as SHIN begrudgingly feels like, okay, I have to... Well, he's going to lose every single Templar as Storm finishes. And by every single Templar, I mean all but 3. 10 Ultras for herO, who got 2 Ultralisk Caverns, but deigned not to use them. The idea is good, though. No Ultra Speed. these spines and spores. Tectonic destabilizers on the way. So we've kind of speed run to this late game situation where I think both players feel like the other should have the advantage. Well, herO, he comes in, the feedback's on the Vipers, but he does get a parasitic bomb, and he gets one on the mothership. Wombo combo! It's so much damage, but there's no other anti-air. So now, well, the Ultras are just kind of waltzing by. He mildly inconvenienced many of those Void Rays and Tempests. But now the Void Rays are just kind of destroy. Well, he still has so many Ultra, but the Oracles line up. Microbial Shroud underneath. The Oracles will burn most of the Infestors. SHIN with some charge lots over to the left side. And SHIN doing a great job of cleaning up the army as the Vipers didn't quite find the mark. Most of them feedbacked before they could participate. The ones who weren't, the Parasitic Bomb Fungal combo, you need a couple of them to come together. Otherwise, the army, you barely break through the shields. And those shields have already been restored. Is there recall available? There is, but there's no energy at this base. The army's coming back. A few Void Rays in the main. And the Queen's just out in the midst of everything. The Templar caught. And Storm softened up some of the Hydras. Mothership in the midst of everything. Void Rays burning through not one, but two Ultra Caverns. Tempest caught out on the field. And suddenly there's no Storm. The refill from herO. But, well, he built his hive at the natural, which is a great move. I think more people should do it on a regular basis. Where are the Tempests going? To the units lost tab, it looks like. The Spire. Hydras pop up. He's not going to get the Spire. The double Ultra Cavern's going to pay off, as he only lost one of them. And herO with the refill catches SHIN before he's able to come back home and put together his army again. And it appears in a very, very similar situation to the previous game. Our Zerg player herO will be able to put together a Hive Tech army near 200 supply, whereas our Protoss player SHIN will be left with bits and pieces of a strong late-game Protoss and not enough economy to reliably use it. It is remarkably similar, with the main difference being herO has not gone for Broodlords, but instead relying on the Infestor Ultra Hydra. But SHIN at the same time has been significantly more wasteful with his Sky Toss, and now a bunch of Zealots will be cornered. He'll recall out, and they'll survive for now. The Templar have not found the storms he needed. He's still building off of gates instead of warp gates. The main bit, the Spire is bleeding out. He's getting Overlord speed. Will they get there in time? I think so. I think there's enough time, but it's kind of close, like 90 HP. He does need that Spire. That's kind of important. The Overlords? Wait, did he actually activate the creep drop? Well, another base. He did. What a save! The Spire will stop being aggressively dehydrated. And the army. Oh, that's a lot of Immortals, Archons, and Charge Lots, which any one of those units individually is still strong. But together, the CIA is almost impossible to beat. Unless, big asterisk, you have Infestors. Well, there's a couple more Infestors. The Storm does arguably more damage to the Zealots than... Oh, this battle has gone on for 4.5 minutes. Just brawling across the field. And another Templar. Does he have a recharge? He does. Whips out a Storm. The snap decision. And SHIN scrambling back. Recall is on cooldown. And herO still has 82 drones, even if he's not reliably mining from some of his bases. The mass spine to stop the counterattack. SHIN does have a decent income, despite because he still has the 2 northern bases. A greater Spire is on the way. The Hydras have stutter stepped their way all the way into the main base, which leaves the other side of the map wide open. for the counterattack. Depowers most of the main. Another ship on the way. The probes are vulnerable. The Ultra are going to chew through several. And the Hydra's enough. Another clutch of Hydras will be cornered and killed, but this time around, herO can replace them. Now has a, like, 3 base income lead. And it appears he's very close to proving his point. Though, it is highly amusing that both players... We played this game out, walking several hundred miles in each other's shoes. And what do we learn? Unclear. That's not really a rhetorical question. At any point in this game, if SHIN had been much more on top of the Templar control, or if herO had managed to actually use Infestor Viper as opposed to thinking it's a cool... I like how herO went through the acceptance of, you know what, Vipers aren't going to happen, and has not built another one since the first set were killed. Because again, I checked, and his name is not Cyril. All right. The Immortals are caught. It's still a whole lot of it, but here are the Brood Lords! The Lords of the Brood! GG, SHIN! Not gonna make us go through the death animation, but instead taps it out. herO! Zerg 2-0. The series is tied up at 1-1. I don't know the context. I don't know if SHIN agreed to play PvZ, or if herO was fully ready to go into ZVZ, and then SHIN said, no, we're going to play Protoss. Different tournaments have different rules about whether you're allowed to switch your race, but I think most tournaments at least give your opponent the chance to react to it. And it appears we're back to basics. Let me check. Yes. In game number 3, we're all returning to our natural state. Though SHIN has decided to put an orange coat of biomass on his base. I am amused that SHIN, throughout all this, using the portrait of the player ranked #1 in the world by Dark, which is, of course, Dark. And herO using the herO portrait. Possibly the player ranked #1 in the world by herO, but I doubt it. herO with the relatively recent from his All-Stars victory. A lot of detail in a tiny portrait. You can see his motherships and Tempest. If you haven't watched the SE... Ah, yes, herO back 2. So there's an indicator here where you can put your pylon to have a perfect wall-off, which offends herO. If he knew what that meant, I'm sure he'd be very upset. But once again, herO will find creative ways. It puts it just like that far off to the side because of course he does. So, I don't think we've seen... I haven't checked since he made his statement. And he made that statement that he's going to play ZVZ instead of PvZ after this series. Not immediately after, like, some days after. He's played several PvZs. I don't think he's... I think he's like 1-12. 2-12? Something like that. In best of 5s against... we're not spoiling this one, okay. But he's like 2-12 in best of 5. Probably not 12, like 10. In best of 5 since the patch. Against Zerg. Against, well, you wouldn't be playing best of 5s against players who aren't already in the deeper rounds of a tournament. So. Whereas before, he won more on the previous patch, he won more tournaments than everyone else in the world combined in major tournaments. Now, we haven't had any major tournaments yet on the newest patch, like $1,000 plus, but herO clearly not having the same level of success, especially against Zerg. And it does appear the intern dropped the hotfix that gave us 300 mineral command centers, and then buffed the Colossus and Adept to help deal with Zerg. That was literally the patch note. Now, unfortunately, we've seen next to no Colossi and about the same amount of Adepts, because obviously in this matchup. But don't worry. We have patches mod. Yeah, that was like 3-4 weeks ago. At this point, the point you're listening to this, if you're watching the first day. Now, if you're watching in like 2028, when I have 10 million subscribers, casting StarCraft 3, then obviously things have changed. But make sure to like and subscribe and get in on the first million. Or at least first 300,000. How about that? Thank you for watching. I did. That ain't happening. I'm sure we're gonna get whatever the equivalent of StarCraft Ghost for the third time is. My BlizzCon prediction. BlizzCon's apparently in September this year. I didn't even know that. That's how little I've been. Is we're gonna get Helldivers 2, but with a StarCraft skin, years late. But if they just make Helldivers 2, like with the Overwatch engine or whatever it is, then I would still. And a StarCraft skin. But it wouldn't be Blizzard in the 2020s and 2010s if it wasn't following the trend 10 years too late on, or at least several years late on a major new genre. So my prediction is an extraction shooter. Maybe a roguelite extraction shooter. Ooh. Made, I've already sold it to Nexon, right? The IP? Something like that. It's not going to be StarCraft 3. And there's not a single person. Not a single person. I am quite confident. I would be shocked if there's a single person who worked on any of the StarCraft games in a technical capacity remaining at Blizzard. So, yeah. Thank you, herO, by the way. Finally realizing that you should do this. So, this rock tower, this base has 9 mineral patches, which makes it incredibly lucrative. But not anymore. As those mineral patches, even if you get rid of them, the minerals are gone, crushed, and not in a usable fashion. Just little blue crystals you can do whatever you want with. Sorry. Don't get excited, but the queens. Void Ray. Still, it's still worth it to mine from the base as gold minerals are so efficient, but gonna delay the 4th base even further. And the Oracle. Stasis. Another stasis. Enough energy with the recharge here. Oh, SHIN!
What a save!
A rare surprise, but a welcome one. As he dodges the stasis, which technically has a cast time. It's just incredibly short. He dodges the stasis into the Spore Crawler. And the Void Rays continue poking away. He does cancel this hatchery. There's a Fleet Beacon in production. Of course there is, as the Void Rays continue to severely limit the hatcheries off to the edges. But SHIN overall, 72 drones. It appears we're going to play the same game 3 times in a row, even if we flip the actors here. Are you saying this match is scripted? Well, when players get good enough, it kind of feels like it to an extent, especially Protoss versus Zerg, but usually not herO. But SHIN clearly inspired by his fellow Protoss in that last game. And herO's back with Mass Void Ray. Flux Veins on the way. You know, I'd kind of love if we have a tournament where you had to play your opponent's race and just reverse the matchups or follow the matchups. Thing is, for the most part, that last game was pretty great, but for the most part, since players are significantly different level with their race, it's just like the ladder, where if somebody's 800 MMR different, which is not rare at GM, it's a stop, usually one way or the other. There occasionally are exceptions, but that's the rule. Like watching, for example, herO versus, I don't know, throw somebody over the under the bus, Percival. And Percival has made a lot of progress in this last patch, but it's still like watching a cyber bully there. Now Percival's doing great against Zerg, but against Protoss he's still struggling. So my point is, well, maybe that's a more likely proposition as time goes on and players get less and less. I will say I don't think I've seen a single pro player happy about the patch. I've seen players who are happy that we're getting patches. Like Cyril has said, I'm glad we're getting patches. I just hope it doesn't get stuck with something that is clearly not working for months on end. And this is the guy who's probably going to win everything anyways. Cyril's always very careful not to say, well, whatever Zerg's doing okay, Cyril's winning everything. And whatever Zerg's doing poorly, Cyril's, well, lights up the void rays and is burninating across the countryside yet again. The Banelings, well, herO. Does that pylon actually wall? Well, if he kills the Cyber Core. Plus what air weapons is going to complete. Tempest, like shooting into a spawning pool there, picking off the Zerglings. Technically works. Hydra's over to the right side. The Nexus will be taken out as he pulled back most of his units, and the mothership isn't quite there in time. The Zerglings coming back around. herO actually finished the pylon, but SHIN may be so kind as to open up the wall for him. hero's probably going to do the same thing in a moment. hero's actually supply blocked from losing so many pylons in the last minute or so. He's hard-walled. The pylon? Really? Okay. Gonna build some more cannons at the back. The mass Hydra. He blocked his own base with the creep tumor. A lot of that going around. The Void Ray hit squad. Zerglings. Hive is about to complete a whole bunch of Banelings with this as well. Cancels the base. That's the 4th base from herO as well. That's very important that he gets that set up. Not having a 4th base means SHIN can just hammer on it constantly. He can lose his entire army, but if he has 2 more bases than you, that doesn't matter at the end of the day. 1 more base is when it gets a little dicey. But 2? Ultralis Cavern on the way. Here we go again. The cannons coming online. A whole wall of them. The cannons might be torn down, though. There's even a Predator drone here. He needs the storms. They'll be a little bit late. The probe survives, so we can restart this. The Zealots trying to flank, which is good and bad against mass Baneling. The Templar zoning out the right side. And the Baneling's trying to close in, but the Templar will survive. 7 infestors. I'm noticing SHIN taking some notes out of hero's book. Getting a lot more infestors earlier. As against the mass Void Ray, you gotta hold them down in order to be able to kill them, especially once Flux Veins is done. They're just too fast, and arguably too furious. That's like the default state of Protoss, especially nowadays. Meanwhile, the Void Rays. There's detection at the back, but it's awkward to get it in range. And the Void Rays, against just 3 Overseers, that's a precarious position indeed. The Templar, where the storms, throws out the fungal. Banelings rolling around. Archon merge needed, but he doesn't get it. They're all gone. He couldn't see them, but he could kill them. The Banelings manually detonated underneath the cloak. And all the Templar will evaporate cloaks and everything else. You know how expensive it is to replace those? Apparently 150 Vespian gas. Oof. SHIN wiping. We don't have the battle report on this one, apparently. Well, quick time warp. SHIN taking out 10 High Templar. And when they show up here as High Templar, they died before merging unhappily into an Archon. There's no take-backsies. Warps in. The mothership overhead. Going to ward it away. The charged lots hitting the 9 o'clock base. Four Ultras in production. The Nexus! Cloaking device activated. We'll hide the Nexus. Buys him a few more seconds, and herO still has a very potent army. It's just, well, he does right up until the Ultras show up. As, dealing with Ultralisk without any Immortals? Well, the Void Rays are going to be needed. The problem is there's still plenty of anti-air they have to deal with first. He's going to have to charge up the Void Rays and target down the Ultras. And he also has to do that before the Templar are cloven in twain by the blades of the Ultralisk claws. So, Carrier's on the way, which is even less effective against the Mass Ultra style. SHIN, he's maxed out, but he does not have much in the bank, so he cannot afford to lose his army too cost ineffectively. We find ourselves here again. The Mass Sky Toss up against the Ultra Hydra, a Zerg player who only reluctantly is adding a Spire, only now adding the Spire attack upgrades. Keeping the options open, and they may be needed. The Ultras will cleave through the Zealots, but delays another base. SHIN is mining from the center. He's got a massive income lead at this stage. He's got 2,000 gas per minute. Oh my, can go to the market with that. And so far, storming the Zergling. Clever go. That's one way to use it. But that's one substitute for detection. Meanwhile, the storms will barely inconvenience the Ultras. The Void Rays, though, on the other hand, melting through the chitinous plating. An Ultralisk drop in the main. And herO. herO we go again. I'm sorry. The drop. Ultra's Fleet Beacon is taken out, of all things. Microbial Shroud storms, just shouldering it. And the Hydra is trying to participate, but the storms are enough to drive it away for now. The Void Rays dealing with everything in the main. But the Fleet Beacon was torn asunder. The gateways of the Forge depowered. The Overlords, we popped like overripe tomatoes. Surprisingly buoyant ones. Here, wow, I never actually noticed that back there. But overall, herO is still on the back foot, or whatever Void Rays have. Finn? SHIN has plenty in the bank. herO's gonna need to withstand not one, not two, but like 4 or 5 more attacks. The highest percentage play for herO is defending so cost effectively, he comes across the map before the army is rebuilt. But SHIN is doing a good job of not offering him enough of a target that he can ever get that fight, that game-winning fight, where he just turns it around into a victory. So, a greater Spire is on the way. And it appears for the 3rd game in a row, we're going to have a very similar situation. And at this rate, it's likely for a 3rd game in a row, the outcome will be favorable to the Zerg. herO's pulled out worse situations before. But not much worse. Even though he's maxed out, SHIN is taking no chance. He's actually clearly learned from herO in how to deal with this. herO was doing a great job of splitting his forces and dividing and conquering. And now, Microbial Shroud, Fungal. The damage of Fungal is not nearly enough, But the Hydra's being added in. He gets through 4 or 5 more Void Rays. No armor upgrades nor shields for the Void Rays. And another army coming in. Cancels a phalanx of cannons. And now Shin with the Infestors. Another Fungal. Melting through the Void Rays. A deep tissue massage from the Carriers and Tempests. Mildly inconveniencing. Okay, moderately inconveniencing those Ultralists. But 22 more Hydras on the way. Shin, he does have the larva. What are you waiting for? Is it not hotkeyed?
Your forces are taking damage.
I was ready for it this time.
Terrible damage.
He has plenty of larva. He has plenty of money. He's got plenty of supply. There's only a couple Templar left over. The mothership. Strong gust of wind will knock her out of the sky, but Hydras are even stronger. Not immediate kill. The Templar are not quite in range. The Storm's gonna hurt the Interceptors about as much as they hurt the Hydras. 14 more Hydras in production. And Zerglings and Ultra. He ran through, completely cut up the base, and now is gutting the rest of the economy. herO's gonna have no home to go back to. He can't even build Interceptors. He has no money. He has no supply. And it appears Protoss in this series has no games, and therefore Shin wins 2-1. Now, all right. Just a final thought. It's not so much whether or not the patch is bad for Protoss against Zerg. And it is. Quite statistically. Even if it's not statistically that bad, Protoss just feels way worse to play. The warp gate changes make it feel awkward, and clearly, in many ways, just worse. It encourages turtling the sky toss. That is the only reliable strategy against most players, and Zergs are in a better spot to deal with it. But really the problem is, like, the fact that community members are putting out significantly better, documented and thought out patches. It just... At this point, it's the patch is turning kind of into a net negative. I'm going to keep casting, and it's a dilemma for me to have this conversation at all. But, of course, if you watch to the end to this point, then hopefully you'll continue watching. I'll continue trying to show good games for the fans. But it just kind of feels bad, man, that herO, who I've never heard complain about balance before. Now, he's been having a lot of success. But for many years, herO was not. And, but he is the #1 Protoss who shows up to tournaments. Like, MaxPax is up there, but he still has no interest in ever attending LAN tournaments. And there is no other Protoss right now in the top 15. It's bad. There's a lot of thoughts about how you'd buff Protoss or nerf Protoss in order to make the latter more fair. But at this point, I'd settle for any sort of consistency or communication. And it's not there right now. And I get why that's incredibly frustrating, especially as herO is the lone bastion. Without herO, none of you would ever watch Protoss. Let's not lie to ourselves. MaxPax is fun, but he's kind of boring lately. And there's no one else. Literally, there's no one else in the top 15. That's it. Clem playing against Terran. But he plays Terran against Terran now because he doesn't want to play Protoss against Terran. So that's where we are. We may have our newest Zerg player, herO. So I think many years ago we needed to to take it into our own hands with community focus, like literally not just occasionally bug fixing, but community balance patches. Tournaments might have different balance. At this point, well, the best time was probably about 6 years ago, before Blizzard essentially outsourced support, or we relied on Saudi sports washing money. But the second best time is now. So let's hope Blizzard gets their shit together. But I don't think we can rely on it. But I do seriously hope that you still enjoy some good games for the fans. And I hope this made your day at least a little bit better. They were still fun games, were they not? Even if frustrating to play them for herO, but So thank you for watching. And if you got the means of motivation, be awesome to check out Patreon, YouTube membership. But I hear liking and subscribing is still free, at least for now. Thank you to our top tier patrons and members: Big Jiggy, Decro, Devin, Door, Maglin, Mario P, Sasquatch. I just still enjoy. And everyone, make sure to check out this video. Jimmy picked it out just for you. And I hope to see you next time. Thank you for watching. Good luck, have fun. Stay chill.